This is a mid to late 1930s Detrola model 101 or 101A, and the owner couldn't find the maker model on the cabinet, so it was a bit of a mystery radio. And the way I tracked it down was I googled this D.R code Detroit, and at first thought when I saw Detroit and D.R, I thought, well, Delco Radio Corporation, because Delco did make some radios, not very many of them. When I googled it, I found it was Detrola, and so I just basically had some time and I started downloading every single schematic until I got a chassis layout and a tube layout that looked like this, and that got me to the model 101. This is a 2-band radio. And one of the initial questions from the owner was, how do I hook the power cord? Where does the power cord connect? And it's a good thing I didn't just throw something out there, because when I asked for the tube complement, he gave me a series of numbers and it didn't make sense at all. It's a 4-tube set, and these 4 tubes do not total 117 volts. These are 2 6-volt here, the IF and the converter. Actually, it's like an IF slash detector and converter. Those are so that's 12 volts, and then we got like a 25 volt tube here and a 40 volt tube here, and it didn't quite add up, so I started looking at the schematic, and it took me a while. It actually took a minute for this to click in my head what this was about. So you can see it shows our 4 tube filaments here, and then we have a 15 ohm resistor here, and this is the backlight for the display. And you can see the 15 ohm resistor right there. It's one of these super reliable can ohm thingies. So I was looking at this and I'm going, 165 ohm line cord, and it finally clicked that what they did on this is they had 3 wires in the cloth covered cord, a neutral, which is this one, and then they had line, and then they had another one. So if I was to draw this, you had the plug right here, right? And then you had neutral here, which went to the radio, right? And then here you had a long resistor wire that went to the tube filament. And here you had another one that went to your plates of your rectifier, right? So essentially this right here, from here to here, is 165 ohm, basically like a heating element probably that's in an electric blanket, one of those pieces of wire that's coiled. And I know some people that work on old radios are probably going, duh, you know, but this is the first time I've ever experienced this. So anyway, it makes sense, because if we have a look here, we have our neutral that goes to the power switch. And then we have our B plus, and we have our filament lead. So we have three wires here that were coming out of the power cord. Now I'm already prepared to do it. I've already picked up some resistors, 180 ohms. That was as close as I could get to 165, and a little bit less is better. And I also, while I was there, I picked up some of these high value resistors that are part of this bias network, because in this particular set they have the cathode of the output tube directly to ground. Then they have a network here and a network here that create probably about -8 to 10 volts on the grid. So instead of floating the cathode up using a resistor, they're pulling the grid down as far as tube biasing, because you always want the cathode needs to be 8 to 10 volts positive of the grid. I think I got that right. So you can either pull the grid down or you can raise the cathode up. And this uses this kind of interesting where they float the ground through the choke to get the negative bias on the output tube. So I picked up this 1 meg, this 4 meg, this 250K, this 750K, just in case they're out of whack by a long way. Now this is not going to be a full-on restore. This is going to just be mostly get it working good and get it safe. So we are going to change some of these caps that have higher voltage on them. The two electrolytics are definitely going to go. This electrolytic right here, these are these old school jelly filled electrolytics, and these things short 0 ohms, and they'll work fine, and then they'll just do it. So this has to go. And the secondary after the choke filter, which is this right here, I'm sure it's dead. And I wouldn't even really question it. So the first item of business here, because of this resistor wire being in the cord, is to test the tubes. And the reason for that is, if somebody wasn't aware of this resistor wire here and just hooked a direct cord up to it and say tie these two together, well, the filaments probably total about 70 volts, and all of a sudden they're going to have 120 on them, and something's going to go bye-bye. So our first item of business here is to check these 4 tubes. And we will do that using the TV7AU military vacuum bulb tester, because that's the only tester I have that goes back to these 5-pin deals. This or 6-pin or whatever this is. Some of them are 5, I think. So our first item of business is to check these. And this one is we'll start with this one, which is a 25Z5. So here we go. This is a bit of a badass piece of equipment right here. I've done videos on this. It even will test acorn tubes, and it will test these kind of tubes. So This is real American equipment right here. So we'll dial up, we'll see if it'll check these tubes, 25Z5. Okay, well, it says press 7 and it wants a minimum of 40 on the meter. And the good thing is it's lighting up, and when I push 7, which is rectifier, it goes negative, but I see a meter reverse switch here, and so I get about 20. It's probably to be expected. At least it's not dead. GR02030. 020 2030. Something is these things are not easy to use. 25Z5. GR02030. So GR, that's a filament. 02030. Huh. Should we attempt 35 volts? Get this sucker cooking here. Nope, nobody's home. It's assuming the 60 by 60A740. Everything's the same. Zero. Huh. Okay. I'm not that worried about it because they're basically paralleled here, so even if one is dead and one is weak, it's probably still going to work. It's just the B plus will be a little bit low. And yeah, next. You know what would be really rocking? If I pay attention to what I'm doing and actually put the right tube in the tester. That was this is the rectifier right here. That was the 43 power output I was testing. Alright, let's try this again. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Yeah, that passes. And 05040. 05040. Hey, look at that. All right. I think the owner of this set is more interested in this video than the actual radio. So I think what I'm going to do is I just put a 2 GB card in this thing. I'm just going to fill it up. I think I'm allowed a 2-hour video. So let's do a 2-hour video on this radio. Let's just detail every stupid little thing with it. Okay, power output. This is a 43. Okay, so 43. Good thing they're both 25 volt tubes. So we got two 25 volt tubes and two 6 volt tubes. So we got 50, 62 volts. So we have to drop across that line cord, we have to drop about another 70 volts. Okay, GR4 42350. 42350. Okay, bias is 43 and the shunt is nothing. So okay, isn't this fun? Okay, the range is B and we want to press 3 and the minimum is 58. So the range is B. And we'll plug the appropriate tube in now. I was lucky I didn't put it on 25 volts and put the 6-volt tube in there. And we want to press 3. Ooh, and the minimum is 58. Look at that. Cooking with gas. A word of advice on testing tubes. Before you pull the tube out you're testing, always turn the voltage down to almost 0. Okay, now we're going to go to a 6-volt tube. 6A7. Okay, this is the pintode select section of the 6F7. Now we have the triode section. The minimum on the triode is 13, so it checks okay too. This is the 6A7. Tests fine. Okay, well we got 4 good tubes, so once I figured out which one to put in the right one to test, we have 4 good tubes, so that's a good start. Now I'm gonna do just a couple basic resistor resistance checks tonight before I call it a night, and I'll use my new toy, which is a Fairchild Nixie tube 1970s multimeter, which is really cool and works really well. So the first thing we're going to check is we're going to check this 15 ohm can ohm resistor. It takes a minute. It's kind of slow, but it's very accurate. So basically what we got is we got about 16 ohms. So that's good. We can short this and zero this out. So 16 ohms, that's acceptable. I think the controls are a little bit dirty. Yeah, 15.7 ohms. That's a little better. These controls are a little dirty. Okay, let's check. God, I forgot how to read these. Red, green, yellow, 250K. Do we have a 250K attached to this thing somewhere? Yes, we do, right there. Well, let's see what we got here. $199K? Hey, look at that. Holy crap. And just to verify that, let's go with the Fluke 27 and just see. just see here. Hey, can't beat that, man. Whoever said these resistors from the 30s have it's not possible for them to be within tolerance is just completely smoking full of it. Okay, then we got a 4 meg attached to that. So 4 meg would be, yeah, that would be a yellow, black, green. So let's go to that. 4 meg. Okay, that might have to be pulled out of circuit to read right. And yeah, it probably would because we got other leaky capacitors and other things. Let's see if we could check this 1 meg right here, which would be from here to here. Again, it's probably pretty close. We just got other things in the way. Let's see, what else can we check? Oh, we could check this. This is the choke. $378 ohms or so. Looks like it says 350 there. I'll take that. Let's see, what else can we check? Let's pause this and take a look. Now, one interesting thing about this voltmeter here is that it puts out about 25 volts when you're using it on the resistance measurement, which is good for checking for leaky transistors. And I got it on the filter right now, and the filter is not shorted, at least it isn't right now. It's probably working on it. So I guess we could do a dim bulb variac power up of this thing. That might be kind of fun. Okay, now I'm connected to the filament, which runs to the power switch. By the way, this thing just kind of maxes out right there. That's where it sits. I'm going to turn it on. So we might have a bit of a flaky power switch. It's kind of all over the place. Let's check that. Okay, testing the power switch. I am connected right across the power switch. Let's check it with the fluke. Okay, I'm on diode check with the fluke. This is a flaky power switch. going on with this. Okay, well, you know, that very well might clean up when we get some current flowing through it, and then a little AC arc when you turn it on, it might burn the contacts clean. So I'm not going to stress over that. Besides, I don't have any problem bypassing the power switch on a old radio like this. You should never really leave these things plugged in regardless of anything. I don't care if you replace every part in it. It's just not a good idea. Get a power strip, get a clapper, get something so that you can, when you're not using it, you can cut the power off to it. These things, they don't have MOVs and fuses and lightning protection, any of that, so they should just be disconnected from the line when they're not in use. You know, I don't care if you replace the safety cap or whatever, just unplug it or disconnect it. So, alright, the power switch is flaky, that's kind of to be expected. Alright, I sprayed a little bit of Jason's preferred recommended lube into this pot, and it appears to be working okay. I'm turning it down right now. So, got a little rough spot right there, but it appears to be working. It's interesting, when you see the glitch in the pot, you see that light pop up. So we'll hope that holds together. This has that weird volume control setup where it's not in the audio line, it's right here. It's like more of the gain control, an AGC gain control, than it is a volume control. So I guess this doesn't have AVC. It's just got a pot. Manual AVC. So we're looking pretty good here, I've got to say. As long as there's nothing wrong with these IF transformers, I guess we could check. I don't want to check that. Ohm those out. I ohmed this one out because it had both sides go to ground, so it's not really that big of a deal, and this one's okay. And this one will be easier. This one will be easier just to check like the plate voltage when the thing is up and running. So yeah, Nixie tube, all American made, Rockwell or Fairchild. Nixie tube voltmeter that works and is very accurate. I mean, it's almost as good. It's dead on with the Fluke. So what might be a usable idea here is to replace this guy and put the power resistor for the filaments in this holder right here, because the new capacitors are going to be a little tiny things. This is like 25 microfarads at 150 volts. It's nothing. You know, the new capacitor is a little tiny thing. And the same thing with this one right here, where that stud comes. I'm going to leave the original one in here for looks. Not that we care about looks, but it's easier just to delete it, to cut it off and then just relocate it and leave it there rather than screw with it. So dim bulb and variac. Alright, here we go. Measuring the voltage on the filter capacitor, dim bulb, variac, radio, resistor. Here we go. Maybe sometime we could do a power up dedicated to Jason Cruz, the dim bulb, and we could use a CFL. But we'd have to change the capacitors in the CFL first. We'd have to recap the CFL before we used it. And we'd have to use the proper lubrication. White lithium grease. And the radio TV PhonoNet approved lube. Oh, here we go. Now the reason for the bulb holy crap, that's wide open. That's 130 volts. That's right, this doesn't have an antenna. God, that thing just sounds hollow.
copper with depth. Atrasado a ese lanzamiento en recta. Lo retó Oxenberger. Se va ponchado por tercera ocasión en el juego. Y primer freeze en el primer turno. Va a entregar con un ponche. Le cantan el primer strike. Sigue corriendo Hamilton en segunda. Ahí va en primera. En los últimos 12 turnos tiene 6 imparables. David Freeze. Segundo strike. Serios. Fue buena la visita al montículo, esa reunión que tuvieron para calmar allá a Frank Oxenberger. Y ahora sacó ponchó a Hendricks y está a punto de hacerlo también con Freeze. Esta es la gran oportunidad de los Angels. Ahora hacia atrás. La cuenta es en 1 y 2. Obtén financiamiento con bajos intereses y grandes ofertas de rendimiento en una Resistor Rapport 2014 en el evento mundial de ahorros. Visita hoy tu concesionario Toyota.
Just for entertainment value, let me see if I could get like a really long piece of wire on the antenna. We only got 42 volts B+, but you know, we're not drawing excessive current. You can see the bulb there. I've got a little bit better antenna.
Yeah, made his first start since July 9th. Presentation for this item.
Now, not good enough to get my Korean soft rock / classic rock station. But hey, this is untouched. Not one capacitor changed, not one resistor changed. Just dim bulb and variac. Back off of this a little bit. That voltage is kind of slowly coming up as the filters probably reform a little bit, and I'm sure they're shorted and leaky and everything else.
He started blowing up his life in Philadelphia. Cards for just $9.99. What's more, you can choose between hundreds of designs or upload your own and customize them easily. And because they're from Vistaprint, the cards are of top quality and your satisfaction is % guaranteed. So visit Vistaprint.com today and get 500 shots at turning your dream into reality. Hurry, because this is long. Claro, varias, ¿no? Ten un ponche. Pase por golpe. Para calle.
Alright, well, let's, let me go to the other side of the power switch. Let's see if that work. Turn this off real quick. Even though I got a light bulb, why play with fire, right? I mean, I know it's fun, but let's see what this power switch does if I go to there. Huh. Seems like it's working.
Carrera anotada y carrera impulsada. From the web and from the children of Ammon.
This my Korean soft rock station. Hey, this thing's rocking right now.
Let's go to Mike in Arizona. Mike, you're next on the Scott Seidenberg Show. Hey guys, good to see you, bud. What you feel is the truth. I listen to opposing views, whether I put double B. A lot of pressure on that bullpen. And then I think in our case, which goes back to my question. Series that Hallmark had ever done. It was a big gamble from the Angels in that department. So the derivative sector is... Show, you're bold and controversial just like... Arbitrary. You hope that doesn't happen to such a talented kid.
Hollywood Freeway South 101 is heavy.
Here's all members active the station's total survey area. Unless I'm there, they only... unto thee, are not his servants come unto thee? Cuando piense que todo 아름다운 인간관계. And by signing a pledge at 96elephants.org, we can support
CBS 2 weather forecast. Mostly cloudy skies as monsuno flow continues into the Southland. So that means a chance for thunderstorms and showers will actually expand overnight. And as we head into Sunday, we're going to see a lot more of that wet weather drying out by Monday. From your CBS 2 newsroom, I'm meteorologist Amber Lee with your exclusive forecast for KNX 1070 News Radio. 78 degrees here at the CBS Broadcast Center on Miracle Mile. Well, the summer took a real cool turn last night at the opening of this year's big jazz celebration.
Well, there you go. Pretty much works right out of the box. All right, continuing on with the Detrola radio. It's Sunday, and I guess it's the 3rd, 8/3/2014, and it's kind of been raining. It's very humid, thunderstorms, which should make this more entertaining. But today I want to do a couple things. I want to get these electrolytics straightened out, but before I do that, I want to do some testing with the resistor. Now we figured that about half of the line voltage was dropped across the resistor, and this is a 300. These are 300 milliamp tubes. So I just kind of my quick calculations in my head, I figure we're dropping about 20 watts across this. So maybe a little bit less. So what I'm figuring I can do is do some voltage measurements, the drop across this versus the drop across the filaments, and then using the little watt meter, see what the wattage draw of the filaments is, or with the resistor, and then basically cut that in half and figure that that's the amount of wattage being dropped across the resistor if the voltage is a 50-50 split, which is what we're going to find out pretty quick here. Alright, now what I expect to happen is when I turn this on, the filaments, the resistance of the filaments are much lower when they're cold than when they're hot. So there's always an initial surge. It's like 10 times. when the filaments are cold, and then as they heat up, the resistance increases, so the current drops. So I'm measuring the drop across the resistor. Here we go. I'm turning it on. Boy, I can feel that sucker shocking me since it's wet out here. Ah! So when you turn it on, the resistor's taking a big hit. Yeah, when everything's wet like this, I must have the neutral and the line reversed, because when I touch this I can feel it. It looks like we've satisfied right there. About 57.7. So now if I move this over to here, this should be measuring the drop across the filaments, which is 65, which we had 25 plus 25 plus 12. So 62. So it's close. My line voltage is 121.2. Power factor is 1.0, of course, because it's a 100% resistive load. 60 hertz. And my wattage is 33.8, so 33.8 divided by 2 would be about 16 or something. And then since I've got a little bit more drop across the tubes in the resistor, it's probably about 15 watts being dropped across the resistor, which it's hot. It's smoking. As you can see here, the resistor is up on 470 degrees, which is not really acceptable to have in somebody's radio. That could probably start a fire fairly easy, so I'm gonna have to come up with something else for that. Maybe 2 or 3 of these in series, or a couple of them in parallel, I don't know, but the heat has to be spread out more. That's why they obviously had the resistor in that cord, because it was probably a 5-foot cord and they had that spread over 5 feet, so the cord just got warm, which I'm sure that freaks some people out in itself. It probably came with a manual that said the cord will get warm. That's part of the enhanced performance. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to connect the power to the B+, the AC to the rectifier, and we'll see how much wattage the actual radio uses. So right now we're on, that's VA. We're on 33.8 watts now. I'm going to connect the radio part. So this is just the filaments.
And you know by age 50, half of all men have an enlarged prostate.
So the radio uses 3 watts. The filaments use 33 watts. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this thing. And I might end up breaking it in half because I want to keep this bracket for now. Interesting, it's got positive is going, positive is over here and negative is here. Alright, so I got this out of here, cut this loose, it's got to be changed anyway. I desoldered this capacitor here and I bridged these. I'm going to move, locate the new electrolytic down here. Down in this area because that wire comes to right here anyway. Alright, let's take a look at what we have here. We had this here, which I'm assuming was a 33 at 160 volts. Or 30, and that has been replaced by that one. The positive is to the right side. This was the 0.1 that has been replaced there, and then down there that nice Nichicon military capacitor I took out of a piece of military equipment, new old stock. That is a 22 at 400, and that replaces this big thing right here, which is a 20 at 150. So that big one will stay in place for aesthetic appeal. Yes, we could go ahead and power this up dim bulb style and see what happens. Okay, I'm looking at volts DC on the main filter capacitor, and here we go. Dim bulb is glowing. Boy, that rectifier is slow to warm up.
When you're ready to buy a car, just follow 3 easy steps. First, go to TrueCar.com and find out what other people paid for the car you're looking for. Then register at TrueCar.com to see upfront pricing information and lock in your savings. Third, simple. Just print out your TrueCar savings certificate and take it to the TrueCar certified dealer for a better, hassle-free car buying experience. Remember, every day...
I have a feeling the grid coupling capacitor to the, I want to say horizontal output, but the output tube is leaking and causing it to be biased on and loading the hell out of the high volt or the B plus down. I can tell I'm used to TVs, but this is no antenna right now.
In financially struggling Detroit have had their water service cut off for not paying their bills. Paul Brown knows what it's like not to have water.
When you talk about a dense urban population without the
hour as well, cleaning up from a crash that actually happened.
Buy every day, so chicken franchise. On the answer, call Dr. Bruce now, 888 Dr. Bruce, for support. What can the Sam's remember them pushing the pillars.
Called Strank on the out.
This is LLC. Securities offered through...
Westbound 91, that's been...
Where's my Korean station that was playing the soft rock and classic rock yesterday? Is this it? Or are they doing country now?
And running back off.
To load up there right around. skyrocketed. Next repeat.
Or can we just talk with us another time?
Unfortunately, the speaker's got a little rattle to it, which would drive me out of my mind.
First round pick last year. Heck, he probably should have been the number 2.
So if I pull this tube out, before the rectifier cools off, let's see how much it goes up. Oh crap. So this is taking 60 volts off of the B+, so something's up with that. And if that capacitor is leaky and the tube is biased on real hard, it'll cause this. This is the grid coupling capacitor right here, this wax one. So let's see. The grid should be about 8 volts or so, 8 to 10, 12 volts negative of the cathode. It's not real far off, is it? Just can't get over this damn thing shocking me out here, because everything's wet. So it's negative.
Por la segunda base bien colocado Hendrick, la toma, tiró a primera y retiran a Sobri para el segundo out.
I'm just gonna cut it. Let's see how much it changes. Nah, it wasn't too leaky. It went about a volt more negative, so it was leaky, but it wasn't too leaky. Let's see how much it affects the B+. Okay, it's 66.
283, 43 carreras revolcadas. Matt Joyce. Ayer vino al juego como emergente.
Leaky, but not real leaky. So we have something going on here. Why do we have... It could be this tube is leaky too, but why when I pull it out does it go up to 100 and something volts?
Where you can win big. Red carpet movie premieres. Awesome! Meeting your favorite stars. Awesome trips all over the world. You name it.
Winning on Radio Disney has happened to thousands of listeners all across the country. Winning big.
Quarterback league.
Codeword. Big prizes, big stars, big winners.
Get ready. Another chance to win is coming soon.
Because this is the station where you can win big. Radio Disney, thank you. The sizzling summer continues now.
Saturday morning, jumped out of bed. Put on my best.
Alright, well, with this radio, antenna is everything. So the bigger, better antenna you put on it, the better it's going to perform. So with the dim bulb bypassed, I have about 85 volts B+, which seems a little low to me. But on the other hand, none of this stuff is really getting hot. I mean, like it's, you know, it's almost like maybe the rectifier is weak, but I checked the rectifier and it checked okay, so I'm a little bit reluctant to try and do anything else. You know, just leave it alone, because if it's 85 volts is what it's supposed to be, then we're cool. So I got a few more capacitors to change. I got to do something with this resistor. I got to put a fuse on it and a power cord. Could be it sounds like it might be a little bit distorted. I have a feeling this tube might be a little gassy or something. It's hard to tell. This, you got to keep in mind when you use this radio, it does not have any kind of automatic gain control or automatic volume control, and this speaker is already on its way out. So you really got to back off the volume control because before you switch stations. I'll show you why.
Side interchange for that eastbound 60 to connect.
In years, the average life expectancy for males at the time was only about age 72, and that's why the Social Security system was a...
So you can see you got to be careful because you could blow that speaker up really easy. Okay, I don't have a number 43 audio output tube, so what I'm going to try is I'm going to try a 25C5, and right now the B plus is 69 volts. Okay, check this out. I got the 25C5 hooked up.
Here's what I need you to do.
Here's the 43 right here.
Love the characters, the bears, the nature of the bears.
Got 105 volts B plus now.
Caller 15-1877.
And it's a lot louder and less distorted.
And there's more next on Radio Disney's The Sizzling Summer. Geico Motorcycle presents Reflections from the Road. You can't beat the open road, but saving money on...
I'm going to say this sucker is weak.
That's why I switched to Geico. Reminds me of the time I switched to a new helmet without a face mask. Swallowed a bunch of gnats when I accidentally yawned. Those suckers tasted bad. Unlike Geico Motorcycle.
Suit manufacturers in the world. At Hollywood Suits, you're really shopping factory direct. We have 3 massive locations: Hollywood, Torrance, and Orange County. Or online at hollywoodsuits.com. Call 1-800-SUITS-90.
Relationships matters to me, and I'm grateful for some...
Apply for Medicare in...
Meyer and the... minimize the damage in the inning. One in the inning so far.
His command is off just a little bit. It's better than it was in his last start against Baltimore, but it is still off just a little bit. He's not slicing the corners like he's capable of.
There's a pitch a little bit low on Kiermaier, 1-0. He's popped out and flied out today. Fans come in anytime to cheer on your favorite sports team.
Ah, look at...
The end zone, Anaheim.
I got minus 12 volts now, too. That seems about right. Yeah, there's something wrong with this. Even though it tests good, that doesn't always mean it's good. Alright, so at this point, the entire spider has slowly broken away. And the cone is now just floating, held on the outside only. And I guess that's okay as long as it doesn't rub. But, yeah, 1935. This thing is old. Originally, in the past videos, I was just using a 180 ohm resistor, which you can see how hot it was getting. was within its spec, but it was still getting so hot it was, 400 degrees. So I picked up, yesterday I picked up 275s and I picked up two 100s. And what I want to do is spread the heat out a little bit because that's just too much. But I want to check the drop across the two 100s, and I want to check the drop across the 275s. We know that this one was a little bit too low because the filament voltage was a little bit too high. So we'll try the two 100s and see what we get. I've wired the power cord in. And the wire I have, this red wire going to the resistors, is a military spec Teflon wire. And the reason why I use this is it's immune to heat. So the resistors are not going to cause the insulation to fail on it, or the tubes or anything else. So I want to show filament current surge, and I showed this earlier in the video. I'm going to show the drop here when I turn this on, and this comes partially as a commentary on the vintage television instant on myth, that instant on destroys the cathodes, wears the tubes out prematurely. And I could tell a little story about that. As you know, several of us cleaned out a Packard Bell television distributor, and it was full of new old stock Packard Bell sets from the early to mid 70s. And almost all of them had instant on, and quite a few of them were plugged in, and had been plugged in since about 1973, 1974 with the instant on, continuously on since 1973. And we would walk up and turn them on, and they would come right up, full bright picture, super bright. And then something would short, the filter, something would short, and they'd blow the circuit breaker. Not all of them did that, but a few of them that were plugged in shorted. The other ones came up and worked just fine. And I checked the CRTs on them, and they still tested like brand new. Now that's the instant on since 1974. Also, the instant on voltage is well below what causes cathode burn off. And you got to keep in mind that when these sets were new, they were designed to last 3 to 5 years, and instant on was no big deal. I mean, it's not a big deal. Is it Energy Star approved? Hell no. Is it worth disabling? Yeah, on a set you don't hardly ever use. But again, I wouldn't disable it. Like I said in the beginning of this video, anything like this, anything old like this, put it on a power strip, put it on a clapper, turn it the hell off when you're not using it. You don't need line voltage applied to it. The hot chassis reason, lightning, just it's old. This is from the 30s, but anything old, unplug it when you're not using it. You know, it'll save the power switch. You can go buy a new Chinese power strip for what, $10, $15? Why do you want to wear out the power switch on your old TV that you can't get? It's just better to unplug it. You don't need to start disabling stuff or modifying it or anything like that. Anyway, that's my commentary on instant on, and I can show one of the reasons why they did that was the initial filament current surge. And basically what I'm measuring is the drop across these two resistors. So watch what happens here. It's going to drop very slow because I have 200 ohms in series with it. No fit and finish. I'm going to leave it like that so that if the owner of the radio needs to readjust something when he gets it, he can undo it. I don't know if there's room in the back of the cabinet. I don't know what the cabinet looks like, but maybe mount it like this and put some type of insulating material under the resistors on the wood, or maybe mount it like this. I don't know. You're gonna have to, talking to the owner, you're gonna have to look at this and see where this makes sense to mount. I don't want to mount it up under the chassis because it's too much heat. It's gonna just, the heat will rise and it'll just cook the IF transformers and all the components. So I know you're not going to be using that much, but still, when they designed this radio, they had the heat in the line cord. They didn't have the heat in the cabinet. So you're going to have to really look at this and see what makes sense as far as safety and placement to get the heat out of the, away from anything that it could harm. Now the next step is capacitors. Any capacitor with more than a volt on it is going to get changed. This thing has 46 volts across it. I almost think this thing needs to go. 155 or 501. What is that thing? 50. And then there's another one here. I wonder if this one has any voltage across it. 1 volt. No big deal. We don't care about that. And there's one here. 1 volt. I'm interested in that. Okay, the schematic calls this a 0.00025. Where is it here? No. So let's do something interesting here. I'm going to look at the voltage and I'm going to clip it out. Not leaky at all. 50 volts on one side, 0 volts on the other side. That sucker was good. And it's measuring almost exactly 0.0005 with no leakage. You could even mount the resistors over on this side or up above, but okay, it's all done electrically. The next step is to align it. I don't know if I could find a light bulb for that. I'll look and see if I have one, a threaded bulb. I think it was actually louder before I recapped it.
For a guy, he went to college for 5 minutes. He's done really well, but he's under par. Ricky, earlier. 70. There's no way we can keep up. Open, and that's why the VA is a mess, and that's why the IRS is targeting a Tea Party, and it's why what happened to Benghazi happened, and the list is endless.
It actually works really well for a 4-tube radio without any antenna. And the one thing I would say about this is antenna is everything. I'll attach a couple foot piece of wire to this, but the bigger the antenna, the better it's going to work. You figure this is probably 500 meters or something, so if you had a 200 foot piece of wire, you'd probably be getting close to part of the thing. So yeah, a long wire. It depends on where you're at and how strong the stations are where you're at. It's definitely probably not going to do any DX stuff. So alignment is next, and then return to sender. Alright, I've been running this thing for a couple days, and it's been doing okay. It seems to have one problem, which was after about 15 minutes or so, the sensitivity starts to drop off a little bit. And that's usually a tube that does that. I was talking to my friend Dave today, and another color TV guy, and I was telling him about this radio, and he says, "Oh, you got a curtain burner there." I'm like, a curtain burner? And he says, "Yeah, that's what they called those with the power cords that got hot with the resistor in them because they set the drapes on fire." So we were talking about it, and I was telling him about the resistors and how the resistors are a good surge limiter for the tube filaments. And he says, can't you incorporate a diode in there? And I was thinking about it. And yeah, I can, and I'm going to try this. I can put a diode, a single diode, and half wave rectify the AC line. And that'll essentially cut the AC line in half. And that's the way the series string Zenith television, the later black and whites, the early 70s black and whites that were hybrid, that had like a 38HE7 and a 6GH8 and a vertical oscillator and an audio out, vertical output and audio out. Those would use just a diode to cut the 110 volts in half, because you're only halfway rectifying it without filtering it. And so you basically end up with like a 50% duty cycle type thing. Now, will that, wait for this to go, now will that half-wave rectification introduce any noise into the system? Because basically you're going to be pulsing all of these cathode heaters at 30 hertz. We'll try it. Alright, well, with the diode, we got 67 volts. But man, do these things sure look brighter than they did with the resistor. In fact, I gotta go back. I gotta do an A-B comparison, because that looks really bright. Even though it measures 5 volts more, the filaments are twice as bright using the diode over the resistors. So I'm reluctant to do that. I'll wait until it gets dark out here, and then I'll show you the difference. Alright, well, here's my favorite Korean radio station rolling out with a little Elliot Rodgers theme music. I love the DJ announcer between the songs. It's absolutely priceless. I'm gonna let this warm up, then we're gonna align it today, and then it's basically gonna be a wrap. Till the end of time.
조지 마이클의 Father Figure, 그리고 그 전에 들으신 곡은 퀸의 Fat Bottom Girls였습니다. 방금 들으신 조지 마이클의 Father Figure, 1988년 당시 싱글 차트 1위까지 히트했던 곡이에요.
What's next? These are cheesy love songs today. Anyway, there was one calculation I forgot when I was figuring this out. And that was 25, 25, 6.3, 6.3, which was 62 volts, 50 and 12. But I forgot I wasn't calculating that 15 ohm resistor and the pilot light here. So if I bring this down to a 75 and a 100, I get about 25 volts. So I was just, and it's a little distorted, but that's a weak tube. The audio output's weak, we know that.
배드 컴퍼니의 Feel Like Making Love, 그 전에 들으신 곡은 로버타 플렉의 Feel Like Making Love였습니다. 동명이곡이죠. 방금 들으신 배드 컴퍼니의 Feel Like Making Love, 1975년 당시 싱글 차트 10위까지 히트했던 곡이에요. 자, 매주말 2부는 7080 A2G로 진행합니다. 1970년대 그리고 80년대 빌보드 싱글 차트 탑 40 안에 드는 막 A부터 Z까지 알파벳 순서대로 쭉 훑어가고 있습니다. 자, 잠시 광고 듣고요. 7080 A2G로 진행합니다.
요즘 태달은 어디가 잘해?
김밥 천국에
Alright, let's do a quick alignment on this. I got the signal generator fed into the antenna. I don't have good instructions on how to align this thing, so I know the I frequency is 456, so we're going to do these four at 456 and see where we're at. It's been running for most of the day, so let's see what we got here. It appears that, turn it down where I can barely hear it. It appears that it's a little bit low, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that they're all in a line, that they're all peaked at the same point. Not bad. That one was off a little bit, but Not bad. Now there's another one down here, but I'm not going to start screwing with it because I don't have the instructions. And since these weren't off that much, I'm just not going to stress it. So I think that's about it. That about wraps it up. I want to solder an antenna wire onto it. Well, let's see how it works.
Yes, going back to this issue for just a
K-Agency.
traffic first on the board.
To chip to me, there's a ton of guys.
Car 5 south.
I think you go in and parece AARP.
Velocity strikes a cuenta. Pega.
MRI.
Here's who asks, I'm
Buscar algún extranjero debería quedarse con lo que tiene. ¿Qué debería hacer el Turco Mohamed? Porque sin duda Raúl Alonso Jiménez, por más que Oribe Peralta es la gran incorporación del equipo, es el mejor jugador.
Sí, la verdad que sí, no, tiene que buscar. Iba bien el disparo, pero alcanza a desviar por ahí la defensa del América y se va a tiro de esquina, sin duda.
These have the most effect when the banana peeler is wide open. You know, when it's closed like this, the percent of effect is much lower because this is probably, 2 to 20 picofarads, and this is 5 to 300 picofarads. So when this is closed, it's all relative. The percent of effect, it's probably like an 80% effect when it's wide open and a 5% effect when it's closed. So that's why they want you to adjust these with it all the way basically open and then adjust the oscillator coil with it closed.
Patience.
Every man must give an account.
Seems to work okay. A couple notes. Please remember this is a hot chassis. This will shock the hell out of you if you don't stay insulated from it. These resistors get thermally hot as hell. They will burn you, as well as there's electricity on the ends of them. They need to be insulated, put in a safe spot, so both thermally they don't burn something and electrically they don't shock you. Use precaution. Unplug it when you're not using it. I can't stress that enough. Do not leave dinosaurs connected to the line. I don't care what the state of repair or restoration is.
big publication out. We would walk through it. No, we'd walk through it.
Oh, the other thing, I believe this tube is weak. Would I change it? No, not unless I was going to use the radio all the time. So that's about it. I want to get a bulb for this, and then we'll do one last video kind of summing it up. But I think it's ready to go home.
Good evening, good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Coast AM. I'm your host for the evening, Dave Schrader. George Norrie is out on assignment. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a lot of interesting news to share with you in this first hour, and then later on in the show, Whitley Strieber is back. We'll be talking about his new book and discussing the possibilities of underwater and underground alien bases. Do these really exist? Is it a flight of fancy? How are they getting back and forth? And are they from other galaxies, other universes? Or are they always here amongst us? Have they always been? We'll find out what Whitley's unique insight is on this. The land Very sad news with the passing of Robin Williams, and especially because, as it appears at this point, it is self-inflicted. They believe that it could be suicide. There will be more information as it...
There is time and the law.
All right, well, this is pretty much buttoned up and ready to go. I've let it run probably 50 to 80, maybe even more than that, hours to verify that there's no issues. Remember the safety aspect of this. It is a hot chassis. You have these resistors that you have to do something safe with. You have the antenna right here, and I only put that much antenna on it. To be ideal, you need probably, I don't know, a couple hundred feet. This radio is not going to work really well. It's only a 4-tube radio. These things just, all they do is pick up the real strong stations. They're not real good. Never was. It never will be. Antenna is everything. Get a bigger antenna on this if you can. And just watch the safety aspect of everything. You know, be gentle until you get it back in the cabinet. Oh, and I think this tube is weak. That's why it's a little bit distorted. Again, I wouldn't replace it. This is not something you're gonna... And yeah, most of the time the volume will be all the way up.
한다라는 거 그냥 그렇게 생각하는 게 좋은 것 같고요. 그다음에 대신에
If you are a dialysis patient, please call 818.
This is the other band. So this goes from 1.65. Yeah, there might be some AM stuff here. Guess I could spray some cleaner on that. But you're not going to use this bottom thing anyway. I stuck these on here with some silicone. And this might very well be where you want to mount this. I have no idea what the back of this radio looks like. May not have a back. This might be a good spot for them. You might just want to drill 3 holes here and put some small screws in there, or clean it up. If you have a high enough powered soldering iron, clean it up and solder it on there. This gray wire here that's coiled up is the antenna wire. I know I've said this like 10 times already, but just going over. This wire needs to be as long as possible. These 4-tube radios never really work that good to begin with. They don't really have a real IF stage, so they don't actually really work that good. All right, here it is. Here are the extra parts right here. It's all ready to go.